Hi, I'm Laura. Looking back, I should have seen the signs. But when you're 8 months pregnant with your first baby, it's easy to get caught up in the excitement and miss the red flags waving right in front of you. My husband, Marcus, and I had been over the moon when we found out I was pregnant. After 2 years of trying, those two pink lines felt like a miracle. Marcus's father, Richard, seemed particularly thrilled. He lived just 10 minutes away in our small town and immediately started dropping by more often. "You need someone to keep an eye on you," he'd say, showing up unannounced with groceries or handyman tools. Marcus works such long hours at the hospital, and I'm retired. What else am I going to do? At first, his attention seemed sweet. He fixed squeaky doors, installed baby-proof locks, and even repainted the nursery. But then the comments started. "You shouldn't be eating that in your condition," he'd say, snatching food off my plate. "Are you sure you should be working?" In my day, pregnant women stayed home. This despite my doctor encouraging me to continue remote work as long as I felt comfortable. "Marcus says you've been complaining about back pain," he'd add. "You're probably not getting enough exercise." When I tried to stand up for myself, Richard would laugh it off. "Oh, pregnancy hormones. You're so sensitive these days." Marcus always intervened when I told him about these incidents, but Richard brushed it off as jokes or concern. "Dad means well," Marcus would say. "He's just old school." Then came the emergency. With just 2 weeks until my due date, Marcus was called to assist with a critical surgery at another hospital 4 hours away. It was a 3-day assignment. "I don't want to leave you," he fretted, pacing the bedroom while packing. "What if you go into labor early?" "I'll be fine," I'd assured him, though my heart was racing. "Your dad's just down the road, remember." When Marcus called his father to ask him to be on standby, Richard's voice boomed through the speakerphone. "Of course. Don't worry about a thing, son. Laura and the baby are in good hands." That evening, as Marcus's car disappeared down the driveway, I noticed Richard standing in his front yard across the street, waving goodbye. He caught my eye and smiled, but something about that smile made my skin crawl. And that's how I ended up experiencing the most terrifying night of my life. The contractions started at midnight. At first, I told myself they were just Braxton Hicks. But by 2 a.m., I knew this was the real thing. They were coming every 7 minutes. "Richard, it's Laura," I said, my voice shaking as I made the first call. "I think I'm in labor." "What?" "It's the middle of the night. Are you sure?" "Yes, I'm sure. The contractions are getting stronger. I need to go to the hospital." "Give it another hour. First-time mothers always panic. I'll come check on you then." An hour later, I was on my hands and knees, breathing through contractions that were now 5 minutes apart. I called again. "Richard, please, I need to go now." All right, let me just finish something up. I'll be there soon." 3 more calls. 3 more promises. By 4 a.m., I was crying, hunched over the bathtub. The contractions were coming every 3 minutes, and I could barely speak through them. That's when I heard it, Richard's voice, clear as day through the open bathroom window. "No, I'm not busy," he said, talking on the phone. "Just enjoying my morning coffee. Beautiful sunrise coming up." My blood turned to ice. He was just sitting there, watching the sunrise while I was in labor. "Richard," I screamed through the window. "I can hear you. Please help me." The footsteps on his deck stopped. A door slammed shut. The next 2 hours blurred together, contractions that felt like they were tearing me apart, crawling from room to room in agony, desperate for relief. I called 911, only to be told all ambulances were responding to a major highway pileup. At 6:30 a.m., the overwhelming urge to push hit me. Alone, terrified, and on my bathroom floor when I heard someone pounding on my front door. I thought I was imagining it. "Laura, are you okay?" I heard screaming. It was Julie, my next-door neighbor, just about to head out for her morning run. "Help. I'm in labor," I managed to cry out. Julie sprang into action. With quick thinking and a frantic call to her sister, who was a nurse, she helped me deliver my daughter right there on my bathroom floor. A perfect, screaming 7-pound, 6-ounce baby girl. As Julie wrapped the baby in clean towels, I could still hear movement from Richard's house. The unmistakable sound of his car starting and the garage door opening. "Looks like your father-in-law's heading out for the day," Julie muttered, her voice tight with anger. Funny though, I could have sworn I saw him on his deck hours ago when I was letting my dog out. I looked down at my daughter's face, then back at Julie. Julie, could you check your security cameras from last night? I need to know exactly when he was outside. Her expression hardened. Oh, honey, I'll do better than that. I'll download every second of footage from the past 12 hours. Something tells me Marcus needs to see this. Even as my body shook from exhaustion and pain, my mind was clear. Richard had no idea, but he just made the biggest mistake of his life. The next 2 days in the hospital were grueling. Complications from the unassisted delivery, a fever from infection, stitches for tears, and blood pressure that refused to stabilize, left me feeling battered. But through it all, I clutched my phone, waiting for Marcus to return my calls. When he finally burst into my hospital room, his face was ghost white. Dad said he didn't know, Marcus stammered. He swears he was sleeping with earplugs and didn't hear his phone. Baby, I'm so sorry. He's lying. Julie stepped forward from the corner, where she'd been waiting quietly. She pulled out her tablet and set it on the table. I have proof. The security footage was crystal clear. Richard standing on his deck at 4:00 a.m., sipping coffee. The timestamp matched my call history perfectly. Then came the audio, my screams for help cutting through the silence, followed by the sound of Richard retreating indoors. Marcus gripped the hospital bed rail so hard his knuckles turned white. There's more, he said grimly. When I called him from the road, he said he checked on you at 7:00 a.m. and that you were sleeping peacefully. He claimed you must have had the baby right after that. I have footage of that too, Julie said. His car leaving at 7:15. He never came to check. He just left. That's when my sister Sarah burst into the room, her face flushed with anger. You won't believe what this bastard posted on Facebook during all this, she exclaimed, holding up her phone. At 4:37 a.m., Richard had written, nothing better than a peaceful morning watching the sunrise. Some people just don't appreciate the quiet moments in life. Then, at 6:15 a.m., young people these days are so dramatic about everything. Back in my day, we handled things without all the fuss. Marcus staggered into a chair, his head in his hands. I don't understand. Why would he? Because he's always been like this. The voice came from the doorway. It was Linda, Marcus's aunt, her eyes brimming with tears. When your mother was dying, he did the same thing. Ignored her calls for help, said she was exaggerating. She crawled to a neighbor's house during her final stroke. He didn't lift a finger to help. Stories came pouring out. Cousins Richard had abandoned in emergencies, neighbors he promised to assist during disasters, but conveniently disappeared on. A lifetime of casual cruelty, all hidden behind excuses and dismissive jokes. Linda's voice was soft but resolute. This time, he went too far. Marcus stood, his face set like stone. Julie, can you send me all that footage? Sarah, screenshot every one of those posts. Mom's side of the family deserves to know the truth too. I watched my husband transform in that moment. The confused son was gone. In his place stood a protective father, determined to shield his family from a man who had nearly cost us everything. He could have killed you both, Marcus whispered, holding our daughter's tiny hand. He won't get away with it this time. I promise. And he was right. While I recovered in the hospital, Julie wasn't the only one gathering evidence. Richard's reckoning was just beginning. The charges caught Richard completely off guard. He was serving coffee after Sunday service when the papers were delivered in front of the entire congregation. Endangerment of a vulnerable adult in medical distress. Under state law, my pregnancy and the circumstances of the labor made me eligible for protection. This is ridiculous. She's making it all up. Richard's voice echoed through the church hall. But Pastor Mike stepped forward, holding a tablet. We've seen the evidence, Richard, the security footage, your social media posts, the phone records. I wasn't there, but Sarah recorded everything. She captured the moment Richard's face crumpled as Pastor Mike played Julie's security footage on the church's big screen. The congregation gasped as my screams echoed through the speakers, the timestamp glaring alongside footage of Richard calmly retreating inside. I've removed you from the church council, Pastor Mike said quietly, and from the community outreach program. That was only the beginning. Marcus shared everything with his mother's side of the family, the aunts, uncles, and cousins who had drifted apart over the years. What followed was a deluge of shared stories, each revealing Richard's long-standing pattern of cruelty. Within a month, his carefully constructed image of the reliable family patriarch crumbled. No more family dinners. No more leadership roles in the community. Even his country club friends stopped calling after Linda, his wife of 40 years, finally spoke up. He locked me out of the house during a tornado warning last year, she told her bridge club, said I was overreacting to the sirens. I sat in my car watching the sky turn green while he watched TV inside. Linda moved out the next day and filed for divorce a week later. The legal consequences were almost anticlimactic by comparison. Richard took a plea deal, probation, mandatory counseling, and a restraining order keeping him away from me and my daughter. But his real punishment was the solitude. Last week, I saw him through my kitchen window, shuffling down his driveway to get his mail. His shoulders were hunched, his gait slow. The big house that once bustled with family gatherings now sat dark and silent. Meanwhile, our home is alive with laughter and love. Marcus has become the most protective and attentive father I could imagine. Julie is now one of my closest friends and an honorary aunt to my daughter. Linda moved in with her sister and rediscovered painting, something Richard had always belittled. Just last week, we celebrated my daughter's 6-month birthday with a big backyard party. Family, friends, and neighbors filled the yard, their laughter mingling with the scent of barbecue and the glow of string lights. Through the fence, I noticed Richard standing at his window, watching. For a long time, he just stood there, observing the life he could have been part of, if only he'd shown the slightest bit of decency. Some people tell me I should forgive him, that he's suffered enough. But when I think back to those terrifying hours alone, when I remember how he risked my baby's life, I feel no guilt about his isolation. He made his choices. Now he can live with them. Oh, and that security system Julie had. We've upgraded ours. Just in case someone else ever needs to learn the hard way that actions have consequences. What would you do if an in-law deliberately ignored your desperate calls during a life-threatening emergency, only to later lie and dismiss your fear as dramatic? Would you press charges like Laura did, or handle it differently? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your perspective matters, and I'd love to hear how you'd navigate such a devastating betrayal.